Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are wrestling with, one of the biggest questions of the modern age is the work you do, all the commitment, the exhaustion, the sacrifices, is it actually worth it?
It's a huge question.
Yeah, and we're unpacking material that's all about rethinking the meaning of work and life, which feels especially relevant right now, in this AI era where we have to ask not just how we work, but why.
That framing sets the stakes perfectly. Our whole deep dive today is driven by this really profound question. Are you pouring an enormous amount of effort, of sacrifice into your job for a reward that truly justifies it?
We're all sort of taught that maximum effort equals maximum reward.
Right, but the material we're looking at, it starts by showing how tragically that equation can fall short.
And it does that with a story that I think for millions was a real cultural catalyst. We're talking about 9/11.
We have to start there with Michael Weir, a data center manager.
One of nearly 3,000 victims.
Exactly. And by all accounts, he was the definition of dedication. He wasn't just working 9 to 5, he was also pursuing a master's degree at night,
Wow.
constantly trying to enhance his value. And this meant sacrificing almost all of his time with his wife and his family.
And then when the tragedy happened, his wife was left with this just agonizing question.
Yeah, the achievement he was chasing, that extra degree, the next promotion, it all just vanished instantly. And she was left asking, what was the real value of all that sacrifice compared to the time he could have spent with them? Time you can't get back.
It's a gut-wrenching question. It just strips away all the abstract economic stuff and forces you to look at human value.
And it wasn't just her. That period right after 9/11, it saw a real cultural shift. A lot of people chose early retirement or just left corporate life completely.
And we're just stopping work, though, right?
Yeah,
They were looking for something different.
precisely. They were determined to find roles that aligned with a personal mission or, contributed to society. They were aggressively seeking that balance between life and work.
So the lesson is pretty clear. The goal can't just be working hard. It has to be working meaningfully. And if that's the case, it kind of begs the question, what even is work? How do we define it?
Well, most people just default to Dolly Parton, right?
Yep.
9 to 5. It's just time. Work is the thing that happens between when you clock in and when you clock out.
But the anthropological view, it pushes back on that a bit.
It does. Anthropologist James Sussman, he gives us a much more purposeful definition. He says work is purposefully expending effort or completing tasks to achieve a goal or satisfy a need.
Okay, that's important because it immediately separates work from, like, a hobby.
Exactly. And there are 3 key characteristics. First, it has to have purposefulness, a clear goal.
Okay.
Second, it requires effort or exertion, physical or mental. And third, and this is so relevant today, work seeks social recognition.
Social recognition. That's huge. Especially with remote work, people post about their long hours because that's the new way to get seen, to get that recognition.
That's a powerful point. Now, if work requires all this purposeful exertion, what about the people who say they love their job so much it feels like they're just playing?
Right.
The source material brings up the story of a guy, Adam S.
Adam S., yeah. He was kind of floating between jobs until he turned his passion becoming a sommelier into his profession. He said it felt like play.
It's the perfect example of the 2 primary drivers for why we work. Psychologists call them extrinsic and intrinsic factors.
So extrinsic is the external stuff. Money, benefits.
Yep, and intrinsic is the internal stuff. Passion, fulfillment, just liking the work itself.
We always talk about the carrot and the stick, but the material suggests the carrot, the money, can sometimes actually make things worse, right?
Absolutely. The blood donation paradox is the classic example of this. When donating blood was seen as a purely selfless, altruistic act, that's a high intrinsic motivation, people were very willing to do it.
Okay, that makes sense.
But then researchers introduced a payment, an extrinsic factor. And surprisingly, the willingness to donate, it went down.
Wait, really? Paying people made them less willing to do it?
It did, because it reframed the whole thing. It went from a virtuous act to just a transaction, and that transactional frame, it often kills that powerful internal drive.
Wow. So our internal motivation can be even stronger than money.
In many cases, yes. And this helps explain that famous $70,000 threshold.
Right. The idea that once you earn about $70,000 a year, more money doesn't really make you that much happier. How does that work?
It's basically Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Below that number, money is a huge driver because you're covering the basics: food, shelter, safety.
Foundational needs.
Exactly. But once you cross that line and those needs are met, the power of a raise just diminishes. rapidly.
So the game changes from survival to significance.
Precisely. The higher psychological needs kick in. Self-affirmation, self-value, self-actualization. Those become the real drivers, and they outweigh just adding another 5% to your salary.
So if money isn't the main driver for so many professionals, how do we even measure value? Is it about interest or is it about money? This gets philosophical.
It does. Economists separate needs from wants. Needs are for survival. Wants are just desires.
And philosophy takes it a step further.
Yeah, separating pleasure joy for yourself, often bought with money, from virtue-based happiness, which is the satisfaction you get from doing good for others.
And the material frames this as Li Jing versus Li Ren.
Yes. Li Jing is self-benefit. Li Ren is benefiting others. The ideal life isn't about satisfying every single want. It's about finding a balance between the two.
This explains people like Mother Teresa, right?
Yeah.
Almost zero material pleasure, very little Li Jing, but profound happiness from focusing entirely on Li Ren.
That's the dynamic. And when researchers look at this, they find three main work orientations.
Okay, what are they?
First is the job orientation. That's purely about the paycheck. Then there's career orientation. That's status, advancement, the next title.
And the third?
Mission orientation. This is about finding meaning and purpose in the work itself.
And I'm guessing the research is pretty clear on which one wins.
Overwhelmingly. Mission orientation consistently leads to the highest satisfaction. It taps into both personal fulfillment and that feeling of contribution.
It's what Steve Jobs was talking about in that famous 2005 Stanford speech.
Exactly. He said work is a huge part of your life, so to be truly fulfilled, you have to believe you're doing great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do.
His advice was, keep looking, don't settle. Which is powerful advice, but...
I have to ask, for a listener who's struggling, maybe well below that 70K threshold, isn't that kind of advice a bit privileged?
That's a really important point, and a necessary one. Jobs' advice is aspirational, for sure. For someone struggling, the focus has to be on securing Li Jing first, getting those basic needs met.
So reality first. Reality first, but the deep dive still holds up the mission orientation as the goal, urging you to integrate meaning wherever you can, even within your current constraints.
That makes sense. Aim for the ideal, but live in the real world. Okay, so if finding a mission is key, we still have this other cultural problem, equating mission with just working insane hours.
It's a huge issue, and it comes back to that social recognition factor. In so many offices, there's this pressure to be seen working late. You do it to avoid being seen as lazy or, not committed.
Because hours are easy to measure, right?
They're the easiest metric, the quality of your work, a real breakthrough, a smart strategy that's subjective and hard to quantify. So hours worked becomes the proxy for success. We think harder means smarter.
And the cost of that is burnout. We hear that word constantly.
The statistics are, frankly, alarming. Some reports say anywhere from 30 to 75% of professionals experience it. Physicians are among the highest.
And the symptoms are just awful. Fatigue, cynicism, helplessness.
A feeling that nothing you do matters. And the material really pushes back on this, saying that working smarter means making time for rest.
Rest isn't downtime, it's part of the work.
Rest is essential work. We have to see it as deliberate energy management. Look at an athlete like Shohei Ohtani. His discipline is about going home early, getting sleep. That's not laziness, it's a performance strategy.
That completely reframes work-life balance. It's not two separate things fighting each other.
No, it's about optimizing your energy for peak performance in everything you do. Your work has to be efficient enough to allow for that.
Okay, so if the goal is bigger than money, and it's about this balance, how do we practically figure out what our most valuable work is? The material gives us a 4-question framework.
It does. But before we get to them, we have to talk about external pressure. The framework only works if you're honest with yourself.
Right.
Think of the movie The Three Idiots. The dad wants his son to be an engineer, but the son loves photography. Who defines happiness? The son has to. His passion is the real input, not his father's expectation.
That's a perfect setup. So this is about connecting your internal passion to external reality. What's the first question?
Question 1. What do you like to do? This is the foundation. It forces you to ignore what everyone else thinks you should do. If you don't like it, you just can't sustain it.
But liking something doesn't pay the bills. So the second question has to bring in reality.
Exactly. Question 2. What is the market willing to pay you to do? You have to ground that passion in economics. The material points to this interesting practice in Israel where students travel for a year after school.
To test their passions against the global market, that's smart.
It's a real-world test. If you can make money with it somewhere, it has value. If not, maybe you need to go back and learn a more marketable skill.
Okay, so you like it, and you can get paid for it. What's number 3?
Question 3. What are you good at? What do you excel at?
Ah, competence.
Right. Because if you love something but you're just not very good at it, it becomes frustrating and inefficient. You need that overlap between passion and competence. That's where success lives.
And the final question, the one that gives it all purpose, the one that shifts it from Li Jing to Li Ren.
That's it. Question 4. What does the world need? This is what gives work a true mission. It moves you beyond just your own interests and skills to what society actually requires.
So when we put all 4 together, what does that look like? We're looking for the sweet spot.
We're looking for the synthesis. When you combine all 4, you love it, you get paid for it, you're good at it, and the world needs it. That's when you find truly valuable work, the kind that satisfies your financial needs, your time needs, and those deeper psychological needs for lasting happiness.
This has been a really profound deep dive. We've redefined work, we've looked at intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation, and now we have this 4-question framework to help find that personal value.
And as you, the listener, think about this, remember that measure of life from Chris Christensen. He argued that the true measure of your life, it isn't the awards or the money.
The real metric.
The real measure of your worth, he said, is how many people you helped become better people, one person at a time. And that's a legacy that lasts a lot longer than any paycheck.
So use those 4 questions. What do you like? What will they pay? What are you good at? And what does the world need? To redefine your relationship with your work and to make sure that the enormous commitment you make every day is truly worth the sacrifice. We'll see you on the next deep dive.